What's up guys, this is the new paddleboard pump from Outdoor Master. It's a battery powered paddleboard pump. It's one of the smallest I've seen. I'm going to test it out today, pump up some paddleboards with it, see how long it takes to do that, see how long the battery lasts. But before we do that, let's look at what's inside the box here. You get a cord to charge it from like a cigarette or 12 volt. You get a USB-C to USB charging cable. You get all the tips for different styles of paddleboards or rafts or other inflatables that you might need to pump up. You get the actual hose itself and an instruction as well as a bag to carry it all in. One nice thing about the bag, it's got a little flap down here underneath, so as you put the hose in there, kind of keeps it separate from the pump, and then the pump can sit on top with the accessories on the side. On the bottom of the pump, it does have these suction cups, which make it kind of nice, holds it in place a little bit better, depending on the style of paddleboard you have, if that's going to work or not. Obviously here against this desk, it suction cups really nicely so it doesn't move around much at all. But when these things are pumping up and they're sitting on the paddleboard, they do have a tendency to move around a little bit. So the basic functionality of the paddleboard pump here, you just hold this to turn it on. You'll see the LEDs light up there, and then you can adjust the PSI using the plus and minus. And then you can also reset that to bar or to PSI. The paddleboard I'm going to be pumping up, I'm setting to 14, which is typically what I ride with it at. So I'm just going to hold down this negative button here, get that to 14 PSI, and then we'll start pumping up the paddleboard. So up on top, you've got the deflate and the inflate valves. The hose just screws onto the end of there. And then you've got all your tips connected together. So you just need to pick the right one and screw that into the other end of the hose. Got this paddleboard here completely deflated. I'm going to use the pump here and use the timer as well, see how long it takes to pump it up. I've already got it set up to the valve here. I'm going to use that 14 PSI, so just turning this on here, making sure that it's still set there. All right, so I've got that running here. Going to start the timer. We'll see how long that takes to fully inflate. So we're still pumping up here at just over a minute. All right, the pump's been running now for 2 minutes. You can get an idea of how much air is in the paddleboard right now after 2 minutes. All right, so just about 3 minutes into the pump up, it's switched over to its second stage. You can hear the sound difference in the pump now, and that's when it's really gonna build up the PSI in the board. That first stage just gets a lot of volume in the pump. So after about 4.5 minutes, you'll see it's starting to build up some pressure now in the paddleboard. Been running now for about 11 minutes and we're up to about 11 PSI. All right, so we've just hit 14 PSI. It's been running for just a little over 13 minutes to get that paddleboard up to 14 PSI. Hopefully that gives you an idea depending on what pressure you're looking for your paddleboard. You can see perfectly pumped up all the way. So typically with these battery powered pumps or any electric pump, when you pump up, they get pretty warm underneath. And this one actually isn't too warm. I did have it kind of resting up on this, so it had some good airflow underneath. But sometimes you do have to let them sit if you're pumping up multiple boards. I'm gonna go ahead and empty this one out and we'll repump it up and see where the battery's at. Just to give you an idea of how the deflation works, you just switch the hose over to the other side, turn it back on just like you were pumping it up, and now it's sucking air out of the paddleboard and exhausting it through the other port. All right, I just started it up again for the second pump up. The first pump didn't even use any of the bars on the battery. We're just starting out. We'll check back when it's done. All right, we're kicked into the second stage now. All right, so just finished up here. This was the second inflation off of this single charge. Took another 14 minutes. You did see that it did drop a bar, and that included the deflation using the pump as well. So I imagine you could get probably 4 boards out of just one charge on this pump. And for how small it is, that's pretty impressive for how small it is. Just feeling how warm it is on the back, it doesn't feel bad at all. It's probably about 70 degrees in here where I'm pumping up. So if you're in direct sunlight, it may behave a little bit differently. But man, I'm super impressed with these pumps. They just keep getting smaller and smaller, and the batteries get better and better on them. You just saw that this one pumped up this board twice, no issues. You get the bag and all the accessories. Definitely take a look at this if you're looking for a new stand-up paddleboard pump that is cordless and you can take it with you all the way down to the beach. It's a great option.